In the wake of public outrage over alleged ghost flood control projects, a leading voice from the business community is urging authorities to ensure fairness and due process. Makati Business Club Executive Director Ongpin is calling on investigators to keep the probe fact-based and free from politics. A call now being echoed by Bicol Saro Party List Representative Ridon, the co-chair of the House Infrastructure Committee. He joins us right now. Representative Ridon, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Mikey.
Okay, let's talk about fairness and due process. The Makati Business Club is calling for, due process and that the investigations stay fact-based. A call that everybody is echoing, really. But how realistic is all of this to keep it fact-based and free from politics, especially as we're pretty much in 2026 and 2028 is just around the corner.
Well, I think irrespective of 2028, everyone who has been named, everyone who is involved in the flood control, corruption controversy should be able to say their piece and should be able to withstand the scrutiny of all investigative bodies and whatever cases that will be filed against them.
Mm-hmm. With the ICI now leading the probe, where does Congress fit in?
Well, of course, Congress will still be able to submit documents to the ICI and to the Ombudsman and to all the other law enforcement agencies if we receive new information relating to flood control issues and new cases. And not just on flood control, but also all other infrastructure controversies that we may see in the next couple of weeks and months.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of new cases, Benguet Representative Yap is now being tagged as a person of interest in the flood control scandal. So it's widening. What does this tell you about the scale of the problem, and do you expect more names to surface?
Well, we're expecting more names, but I think what we are seeing with the new disclosure of Congressman Yap is that the flood control corruption, infrastructure corruption did not start just within this administration. It goes back to the past, which is why the ICI is perfectly correct to basically go back to 2015 or 10 years from today.
Yeah, it started much longer, and we will just see how deep it's gone. On another front, how should Congress handle situations like this when one of its own is implicated?
Well, we have to let the evidence show itself. No? So if our colleagues are implicated, then they will have to confront it on their own. Congress will not stand in the way to defend our colleagues.
Okay, this probe started with the Senate's Blue Ribbon Committee and with the House's Infrastructure Committee, which you co-chair, with 2 main hearings and 2 initial hearings before going to the ICI. In your view, Representative Ridon, what was the biggest bottleneck to really moving things forward? Was it a lack of evidence? What is that bottleneck?
Well, I think the most important concern at this point is really to be able to build airtight cases, and that has been the pronouncement of the president himself. He doesn't want to file cases just to file the cases, but to make sure that someone actually gets convicted for all of these scams and corruption that had been undertaken in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's right. Airtight cases, we want it fast, but we want it airtight also. You're a lawyer, Congressman Ridon. Can you give us a sense of how difficult is it going to be to complete all the documentation, get all the witnesses together? How long could it possibly take before things are filed and before we perhaps even reach the conviction level?
Well, I think to be very clear, the low-lying fruit in all of these things would be the ghost projects. And the ICI, Ombudsman, and DPWH have been very focused on basically filing the cases on ghost projects because the evidence for these aren't that difficult. The only question is whether or not the infrastructure exists. If it doesn't exist, then it's a ghost project. And then they would have to follow the money trail if money has actually been disbursed and received by particular personalities.
Mm-hmm. The lowest hanging fruit is always, it's the contractors, it's the district engineers. How confident are you that this will go all the way up to the masterminds themselves, perhaps even some lawmakers?
Well, to be perfectly clear, there are many masterminds, not just one mastermind. There will be legislators, There'll be congressmen, senators, and even executive officials here. But I think if they made the mistake, for example, of going through the banking system, the financial system, and AMLC had been able to find that entire paper trail, which I think they had seen in Congressman Yap's money trail within the banking system. I think that is how legislators might actually be linked.
At this point, how would you describe how progress has been thus far?
Well, the ICI had made pronouncements that they wanted to live stream the proceedings, which is a very important transparency measure. But just yesterday, I think they slowed a little bit because they said that they have to do the procedures first on how to do the live streaming. So I think it's a bit of a step back, but at least the commitment to live stream is already there.
Are you in favor of that commitment to live stream?
Of course, because it's a transparency measure, like what they stated, because everyone is basically wanted to participate. No?
Yeah.
Even the public would want to get to the bottom of the entire flood control controversy.
Yeah, there's so much public clamor for this. Let's talk about the regional impact. As Bicol Saro representative, how have controversies like this affected regional flood control works in Bicol and in other provinces? Are legitimate projects being delayed or suspended, perhaps, because of the ongoing investigations?
Well, the new pronouncement of the president for the next year's budget is that there would be no flood control projects for next year. So that has a real impact in areas in which you have real climate issues, particularly flooding issues.
Yeah.
So I think that would have to wait for 2027. So that is one of the unfortunate consequences of the entire controversy that we are facing today.
Yeah, they need to make sure that we avoid the mistakes of the past. Another thing I wanted to ask: how can Congress ensure that the ICI's findings translate to concrete legislative and administrative action, and not just another cycle of investigations and amnesia?
Well, there are companion legislation in the Senate and at the House, in which we would want to institutionalize and give more powers to the ICI, particularly subpoena and contempt powers, similar to what we have in Congress and at the Senate. I think it's a very important measure to basically compel cooperation with all involved personalities. So hopefully, as soon as the independent commission bill gets passed into law, the ICI will soon have more powers for them to be able to do their investigative work.
Mm-hmm. The business community sees this, this flood control scandal as a true test of governance. The PSE index has lost about under 100 billion pesos in market cap over the past couple of weeks. BMI, a unit of Fitch Solutions, for several reasons, has cut the 2026 growth forecast for the Philippines from 6.2% to a lot, to 5.2%. In your view, how has all of this affected confidence in the country, and how can our government show that it's serious about cleaning the system up?
Well, firstly, we have to acknowledge that there are really weak fundamentals at the moment, but it is aggravated by the governance risk that we had seen with the current scandal. So I think the way forward for government to assuage the business community and the investing community is to really make sure that people are actually made accountable for the entire flood control corruption that we have been seeing.
That's it. That's what everyone's looking for, accountability. Thank you very much, Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Ridon.
Thank you.